Go live. Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Thursday, the 4th of June. Yes, that's right. We come to you at 7 a.m. every single morning here on New Zealand Sports Radio, helping you start the day the best way, up to date with all of the important sports news. And Ashwin, at the end of the day, is this just a 20-minute chat about Dan Carter? Is there any other news, do you think?
Did something else happen in the world?
Is something else happening?
Anything else happened in the world? Well, we got carried away pre-show, didn't we? And it's like, oh, we're going to go live.
Yes, folks, Hash DC is what this is all about today. In other news, yes, Dan Carter is back. West Indies announced squad to tour England. COVID tests in football and immigration fix for America's Cup on the way. So let's kick off with that news then. So Dan Carter is apparently back to replace Stephen Perofeta, who is injured. He's only going to have 2 days, basically, before, or a couple of days training before it's pretty much into game week. So his time to integrate with the team is going to be very short. A lot of people are already speculating, even before he's been announced, as to kind of what is the Blues lineup going to be. Is Dan Carter going to start at 10 or 12? Will Beauden Barrett be at 10 or 15? I think what a lot of people are forgetting is it's not 2015, folks. Dan Carter has been out of has had some serious injuries and said he wasn't ready for the World Cup. So let's not have our expectations too high too quickly, especially the short amount of time he has with the team. But yes, what hasn't come out about this is what is Stephen Perofeta's injury. Obviously, it's only a 10-week tournament, so it might not be that big, and let's hope it is small and then he gets over it quickly. The other part of this that hasn't really happened, hasn't really been talked about yet, but will be over the coming days, is that how this got leaked to the media. A screenshot of Leon McDonald's WhatsApp message to the team has been taken and given to the media. So somebody on the team has leaked this, and that breach of trust within the camp is not a good sign. So we're going to see how that all pans out. And that's basically also in rugby news, Mark Robinson is becoming increasingly optimistic about the game. He says, look, things have moved very quickly over the last 2 months, and that whilst he can't really talk about it yet, they're definitely looking at multiple games for the All Blacks towards the end of the year. He wouldn't elaborate any further on that. And he's also standing positive about the move of the international window from July to October in future years as well, and having a revamped global calendar. So talking very positive at the moment about these changes. Obviously, they're all just rumoured, and quite how the European clubs will react and how it fits in with the domestic season is yet to be seen. No details of how these things might eventuate. Quite how my 10 Cup might fit in, especially when you think that recent re-signings of players like Scott Barrett have not included the Mitre 10 Cup or the province that they're signing for. So what does that mean for the provincial game? We're going to have to wait and see. That brings us up to speed with all our rugby news. I'm going to hand you over now to Ashwin, who's going to bring us up to date with our cricket.
Yes, good morning, Paul, and good morning to all our listeners and viewers out there. And in cricket news today, Dan Carter signed for the Blues. Oh, wait, that's rugby. Sorry, my bad. Look, no, back to cricket news. And West Indies have announced the squad to tour England, and a swag of new names have been included in the West Indies tour to tour England. Among them is Chema Holder. Holder played for the West Indies in the 2016 Under-19 World Cup, but hasn't been seen since, but has been a consistent performer on the domestic scene. Over the 2019-2020 season, he bagged 36 wickets at an average of just 18.91. Which is nothing to sneeze at about, is it? So he's been performing quite well at that domestic level. Meanwhile, Darren Bravo, Shimron Hetmeyer, and Kemo Paul have all declined to tour England. And Cricket West Indies have said that they will not hold this decision against the players when it comes to future selections. Now, the reason why they've declined to tour England is still around their issues or fears around the COVID virus. Jason Holder will captain the side.
And yes, obviously the West Indies have got a good reputation of not holding things against players when they decide to step out, do they?
Well, that's the thing when you read that. It's just like, anytime a body comes out and says we won't hold something against you, there's a chance they're going to hold things against you. So the issue there for West Indies cricket, though, is that it really has affected them in the past, with Kieron Pollard being a good example, where obviously issues. The other one, Sunil Narayan, was another one. And it's just like they have issues in West Indies cricket that politics plays a big part. So, but then they also have a problem where they don't have enough players because of those sorts of issues. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds in the future. And moving on to the other news, ball maintenance debate carries on, with the Sri Lankan test bowlers commenting that sweat is not as effective as saliva. I hope you're not having your breakfast at the moment. The bowlers returning to the nets for their first post-lockdown net session reported their views to coach Mickey Arthur, who is also part of the ICC Cricket Committee. Now, the ICC Cricket Committee recommended just last week to use only sweat whilst the COVID-19 pandemic ran its course. The bowlers reported that the sweat made the ball heavier than saliva, and that saliva was their preferred method. Arthur responded with, it is what it is now. Just get on with it. So basically that's it. Now, the issue that I have is that obviously sweat may be not as bad as saliva, but it's still bodily fluids, and it's like surely you'd want to steer away with anything that's transferring that body fluids type thing through the ball if it's a COVID related issue. But again, we will see what actually transpires when cricket gets underway, and that will probably be with that the first test match with the West Indies England tour that we mentioned before. Now, and finally, make sure you join Rohit, Taran, and myself tonight at 8 p.m. New Zealand time for Swinging from the Hip. Tonight we'll be throwing it back to you whilst we discuss some of the issues that have been popping up and raised in the last few weeks, and a few other things as well. So make sure you join us right here on New Zealand Sport Radio for your cricket fix on Swinging from the Hip. And that's our sports news today, Paul.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. So yes, you can follow that, or you can join them on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Just find New Zealand Sports Radio. And obviously, yes, do put your questions in the live chat. I'll be moderating that and keeping the boys questioned and on their toes. So do join us this evening for that show.
Absolutely.
Moving on to football news now, and there has been another positive COVID test for the EPL. This time, somebody at Tottenham, who the identity is being kept confidential. And this is the fifth round of tests now. Then they've found another person. There were 1,197 tests amongst players and staff. And whilst the report is that they only had one, you got to say 5 rounds of testing, they're still finding people who have got the COVID virus. So when they do get into full contact, and we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. But they're still planning to resume on the 17th of June. Going down the levels, and 9 people at 6 championship clubs have tested positive for COVID-19 in the latest round of testing. Preston and Sheffield Wednesday have been confirmed that they have 1 each. Comes after 10 tests in the second tier and 7 in League 2 on Saturday. So yes, still a lot of positive tests coming from the lower divisions there. Over in Israel, they have an answer for this. And their answer is that they are now going to have a spray tunnel that players will be disinfected with as they enter. So they'll have to walk through a tunnel which will automatically open and give them 15 seconds of sanitizing mist as they return to play, again behind closed doors. So yes, that's going to be interesting to see how players react to that being sprayed every time they go for a game. Over in Spain, and Spanish football will return a day earlier than planned when the second half of a second division match, which was abandoned, will be replayed. It was abandoned due to offensive chanting on the 10th of June, and will be played on the 10th of June. And so that's that game will be that's when Spain will be returning. Also, on drivingmall.com, for supporters of New Zealand Sports Radio, we had an item there looking at the return of the Western Force to Super Rugby AU. So if you want to get up to date with the feelings from the West and how the Force, how the fans will take the fact that the Force are returning, being re-invited in Super Rugby, then go have a listen to my chat with Craig from West Australia. You can get that, as I say, on drivingmall.com. Finally, moving on to America's Cup news, and there apparently have been talks between the government and the American syndicate around their immigration issues or COVID lockdown issues, and that's has come after we talked the other day about Luna Rosa not really being the voice of the challenger teams. So it looks like the teams are having to deal with having to be dealt with individually, instead of having a spokesperson or a spokes team as would normally happen. But the New Zealand Minister for Immigration has said that the process is underway to allow them in. Obviously, the team that are, or crew for filming the film Avatar, have come in. So there are exceptions that allow people to come into the country, and you would expect that the America's Cup teams would fall under that, being relatively small numbers and very much and manageable. You have started the day the best way, up to date with all the important sports news. Yes, it's been a quick one this morning. There isn't much going on, but that Dan Carter news really has caused a stir amongst rugby Twitterati, and we are looking forward to seeing him back playing in Super Rugby, even if it will be with a very unfamiliar jersey that he'll be wearing.